listening to the Created to Create show.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Created to Create show. I'm Ben Gluntz, and there's two things, if you're watching on YouTube and Spotify, there's two things right off the bat that you're probably like, yo, what's happening? One, we're not in the studio, and two, I have my little sister with me, Elena. Say what's up, Elena.
What's up? We're in Scotland, actually.
We are in Scotland, and that's kind of why we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about. So hold tight for a second. But I just wanted to introduce you first to her really quick and just let you know that this is going to be a little bit more of an informal podcast rather than, just me talking to the camera, having everything kind of laid out, what I want to say. But I'm really excited about it because this is Elena's first podcast on, and we have some cool things to talk about. So let's just jump into it. Yeah, first of all, I just want to tell a story about how this came to be. So I'm sitting at my computer, right? And I am kind of stressing a little bit, right? My anxiety is a little bit up like 2 weeks ago because I'm trying to figure out, okay, we've had this trip planned for about almost a year, and we really have wanted to go on a birthday trip. But while this is kind of being solidified, I'm also trying to figure out, okay, what do I do with the podcast? Because I'm trying to do these weekly episodes. And so long story short, not to bore you, I ended up, switching my plan from, hey, I'm going to record 3 episodes in 1 week and then push them out each week. Or I'm going to take my equipment, a very scaled down version of my equipment, to Scotland with me. And I'm going to do a podcast with my sister about planning. And that's how it happened. So I think if you talked to me a year and a half ago, you probably would have experienced I would have experienced it a lot differently. I probably would have been a lot more anxious about it and overthinking all the little details of, oh, well, I'm not going to be in my studio. That's going to be an issue because I have to be in my studio for these solo episodes, right? Well, maybe not. Maybe you can still accomplish your creative goal that you're setting out to accomplish while doing it a little bit differently than you normally had planned for, while not sacrificing the creative goal in and of itself. So I'll explain, I'm thinking about, okay, is it possible to continue to do these solo episodes when I have one episode that's not in my studio? Is that going to completely go against the goal of my solo episodes that I'm doing? Is it going to completely ruin the vibe that I'm trying to go for? And ultimately, I came to realize that it really wasn't. Maybe some little preferences here and there, but at the end of the day, I'm still sitting here, I'm talking to you at the camera, and we're having a conversation about creative growth and personal growth. And that's what I'm trying to do with this podcast. So it accomplishes everything that I'm setting out to do. We just so happen to be in a little cottage in the middle of absolutely nowhere. And I almost said Iceland again. We've been joking this whole trip. We're like, we're in Iceland, we're in Greenland, we're in Ireland. No, we're in Scotland, in the middle of absolutely nowhere and having a blast, just some brother sister time hanging out. And we get to publish part of our conversation. So
probably not the best.
How's that for anxious thoughts? Elena, are you feeling anxious right now about this podcast, about anything in life? You're 16. Psych. She's 17, just turned.
He's got to get used to it.
I have to get used to it. You're getting so close to being an adult. That's crazy to me. That's scary for me. That's making me anxious. No, you're almost an adult, and you're going to be entering into a lot more responsibility soon. You're going to be, in a place where hopefully at some point you live on your own or with roommates rather than at home, and you're graduating high school and stepping into what's next. Are you anxious about any of that? And if so, how do you kind of go about thinking about that right now?
I feel like there's 2 different types of anxiousness. There's types where over the things that you can control and then the things that you can't control. And I feel like I am more anxious about the things that I can control, because the areas of life that like I can't control, I don't know, I don't really tend to get super anxious about those, or even just, you know, like things that you don't know what's going to happen. But for things where there is kind of like, I don't know, not an end in sight, but a picture of what it's going to be, or you can control it, that's where I get anxious. So, I mean, example is like preparing for what I'm going to do in life and whether I'd go to college or what I'm going to do. And those are things that like I can control. I can control how well I do my school now so that I can get into college, and what I choose to pursue right now so that I'm setting myself up best. And those are the things that I probably am most anxious about, because I just like, I don't know, I never have enough brain power to like think about them and then go through with them. And so I kind of just, at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, am I going to fail? Like, what's going to happen?
Well, and what does failure, I mean, that's a lot of big decisions, obviously, but when you break them down, they become less big and more easily attainable. But what does failing even look like in any of those areas? Have you even thought about that? Or do you choose not to think about the failure and just think about what you can do to move towards success? Just like
regretting not getting where I like want to be. Like, I'm a person that just, I think that I can do it if I just put my mind to it, if I put the work in.
Yeah.
And so there's things that I would love to do in life, careers even, but like, have I actually planned that out well, and have I gone through with that well? And so that's what keeps me up at night.
What are some of your goals that you've even thought of, like preliminary goals moving into adulthood what are some things you want to do?
I don't know.
Start with one.
I don't know.
You mentioned careers. Is that something that you've thought about a little bit?
Yeah, like certain careers that would need college, but then I'm like, am I actually ready for college? And then I'm like, oh, I have 1 year left. Like, let me pack it all in and get ready, because like you're only in high school once. And I'm scared that like when I am done with high school, I won't actually be prepared.
Oh, I see. That makes a lot of sense, because you're already doing all this work, but like, is that work enough when you actually finish the time and then you hit that moment where you have to transition into something else?
Yeah, I guess.
But we're not necessarily talking about high school credits. You're more so just talking about like preparing as an adult, like things that you are maturing and growing in your personality.
I'm talking about high school credits.
You are talking about high school credits. Okay. Way to get clear there.
Yeah. Like, listen, if I had to take the SAT right now, which I need to take the SAT right now, I would fail.
Really? You would fail completely?
And that's sad for me, because I'm such like, I'm not an achiever by any means, because I don't really achieve that much. But in my mind.
That's a lie.
In my mind, like, I want to achieve these things. The reality is, I just.
We're getting real, guys.
Well, this is not on topic, but I think, okay, when we're talking about anxiousness, and I take it back to the source, it would probably be that I don't have what I need surrounding me right now in order to get to that place. And I know that. And I know I need to get to a different place. Like better accountability, different schooling, all of that in order to push me to that place.
Makes sense.
So that's what I'm like anxious about, because I don't want to finish high school and just not have the education that I needed or wanted to have in high school.
That makes sense. So now you're kind of in a place where you're wanting and knowing that you need to plan accordingly. You got to like put things in place for this next year that are going to push you in the right ways, right? Like push you towards finishing what you need to finish, getting credits, and then preparing you for whatever's next that you kind of want to pursue. do you feel like a weight of, adulthood's coming, I have to have everything figured out?
In what sense?
In a sense of, I have to know what I want to do with my life. I have to know, what marriage is going to look like, what a family is going to look like. I have to know where I'm going to live, who I'm going to live with. I have to know all the things in life that we stress about on a normal basis. Like, do you have that in your mind where you're like afraid that because you don't have it all figured out, you're going to just automatically fail?
No.
Okay. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Cool. She's a normal person.
No, I think the normal person would say yes.
You're right.
I'm just kidding.
I was deathly afraid. No, you're leagues above everybody. I think I just want to encourage you as a brother that you are doing so many things right, and you're definitely positioning yourself in a place where you're going to succeed because you're thinking about these things in a healthy way, and you're not getting like super, super anxious about it.
Thanks.
Where does that peace come from?
I mean, God, ultimately. I mean, that's honestly something that I've actually had to remind myself of, because I was that person who, this sounds really cheesy, but like everybody always talked about like Jeremiah 29:11, and I was like,
classic Instagram bio.
And I was like, no, like you don't even know the context of that verse, like all of that stuff. But now I'm actually
What is that verse for the people, by the way?
For I know the plans I have for you, plans to like prosper and not to harm you or something. Yep. And so now I actually have to preach to myself that God actually does know everything, and he does have a plan, and it's actually better than I imagine. And what's that one verse like? Oh, he can do far more and abundantly all that we ask.
Oh, I think it's Ephesians, right? Immeasurably more. Forget exactly what I know.
Then we can ask or think.
Yeah, he can do immeasurably more than we can ask or think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's in Ephesians.
Yeah.
We'll stick with that for now.
So, anyway, I've had to like preach that to myself more because I've just gone so long being like just kind of disregarding that in a way. So that's where also I was thinking as well.
Yep.
I just started actually like in a book about anxiousness with a group of girls, and
it's right on topic.
Exactly. Something that I brought up and we were talking about is that a lot of our anxiousness, and at least for me, for things I can't control, stem from the fact that we have a low view of God. Like, for example, I was nervous about...
We're getting deep theological here.
Yeah.
I like it.
I was nervous about this trip, and because it was so unknown. I've never been out of the country. Like,
first timer.
What is going to happen? I'm going away from my parents. I'm going away from my sisters, who I'm normally always with. And so that was something very unknown that I was honestly very anxious about, like more anxious than I've been anxious about something. And I realized like it's because mainly I have a low view of God, because I don't believe that God is everywhere. God has already gone before me. Like, he is so much bigger than I just make him to be in my mind with all my problems.
Right.
So I don't know. There's that
right.
as well.
Do you want to share a testament of even how you've seen God move on this trip already?
How? Are you talking about? Are you like pointing to something in particular?
Well, I didn't know if you had a view. I mean, I have a view of how God's moved already.
What's your view?
I mean, my view is the people that we've met along the way that he's placed in our path, whether it's a waitress or our new friend Taylor in Edinburgh, right? That's how you say it?
No, but
Edinburgh.
I don't know.
Edinburgh.
Edinburgh.
Yeah, they always say, just sound like you're saying bruh. Edinburgh. Our new friend Taylor in Edinburgh. And all the different people, all the different things that God has done already, like blessing us with sunsets at the right time, you know, where we're like ripping through Scotland, not necessarily stopping anywhere for more than an hour. And God is just like placing these moments where we reach a spot and he's just like, you know, calling these birds to fly away and create this perfect cinematic shot, or create a moment where the sun like peeks through the clouds and like highlights a certain point on a mountain as we're driving, you know, like things like that. To me, when I'm traveling, those things stick out to me as God, one, caring about me and other people that are around me by showing us that. And then also going before me and like creating hearts that are receptive towards conversations and friendliness and all of that. So I don't know if you had seen any of that, and that's why I asked, but that's the way I kind of have seen the trip. And, you know, I still get anxious as well, like with trips, with plans, with, you know, different jobs that I have, creative things that I want to do. But it's that like resting in the knowledge that God has already gone before me that kind of gives me that peace, you know, because something can be really uncomfortable, but then if it's peaceful, then you know it's from God, you know. And I think that just plays into our creativity and the way that we're able to do things without anxiety. Not fully, because there's always going to be like anxious thoughts and anxious moments, but we can step forward even if we're uncomfortable and still accomplish things and do things that we thought we couldn't do in the first place. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of why it, to me, even though you may not like have reflected on this trip so far, I've already seen how your anxiousness has been put at bay, because you were like, as we're planning a trip, you're anxious about this. Where are we going to stay? Like, how are we going to get from here to there? What are we going to eat? And I've seen in real time how you've just been like, oh, yeah, we're staying here. This is crazy. This is so cool. And then you're comfortable because you're not worrying about that stuff anymore. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Anyway.
So what does this have to do with planning, Ben?
Well, it has to do with planning, because when you plan correctly, it doesn't mean that you overplan, because if you overplan, then you're another type of anxious. Mm-hmm. You know, you're like, oh, well, everything has to go according to the way I planned it. And if it doesn't, then we're screwed. But planning correctly is like planning with the ability to fluctuate and the knowledge that things aren't going to go according to plan, but you can still plan ahead and have the desire to fulfill like a goal, or have the desire to create something, and then know that the journey getting there is probably going to have a few detours along the way. And so if you plan correctly, then you're going to allow God to like direct your steps from a religious standpoint, from a Christian standpoint, but also just in creativity, like in business and in everything we're striving for. Like if you plan correctly, you're going to be able to plan with the ability to fluctuate and learn and grow and hit roadblocks and turn and go another way, but eventually still accomplishing what you set out to do or more, you know? And I think it's usually more, which is an exciting feeling, because we can plan something and we can plan to hit this mark. And then for the people just listening, you know, I'm like holding my hand up certain height. You can plan to hit this mark, and then by the end you've hit maybe this mark or this mark, or you've done 5 things when you plan to do one thing and you've accomplished more. So, you know, in short, planning is basically being proactive in a healthy way. And then the anxiety comes from just like an emotional standpoint. You're just always anxious about like whether something is going according to plan or not going according to plan, or just anxious because you didn't plan at all. But it's always like a negative, like what ifs kind of thing, and never really tends to end up well. But Elena, I have one more question for you really quick. Do you think that your generation or your age group is more or less anxious than my age group. We're 11 years apart, so we're both technically in the same generation, Gen Z. But do you think like you and your friends are more or less anxious than me and my friends?
Let me think about that for a second. Okay, I don't really know because low-key I'm not really around your age group too much. But I will say, like, technology does play a big role, especially in the minds of kids who are not, like, who haven't lived much life and who are not mature. Like, them just having technology, like, at their fingertips for sure makes them 100% more anxious because it makes you, like, doubt and question, like, so many more things about the world than you normally would at that age. Like, you'd think, like, 100 years ago, people in their teens, they were still kids, like, very much so. And so I think there arises with technology so many other things. Like, you see all the time, all these other people getting in relationships, all these other people, like, getting married. And so then you're anxious and questioning your life. And then you're focused so much on, like, what you're going through and how it's going to pan out and all of this stuff. Versus, like, the times when I'm more present in my communities and, like, pouring into that and just my school community, my church community as well. I don't know. I'm more focused on the needs of others and not my own. And so then I don't know. And that like other people being there for you and encouraging you in real life, definitely helps with the anxiousness that you have because it's real wisdom and encouragement.
Rather than just scrolling on TikTok and finding like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Okay, yeah. I mean, it seems like you're saying there's just nuance in either age group then, because like, you know, we both have the same issue of like either going to TikTok for advice or going to mentors and peers for advice. That makes sense. Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I think like technology definitely does give us a little bit more anxiety the more we watch things online rather than connect in person. But I've also seen how technology has helped people
for sure
get out of funks and get connected with the right people, you know? So it's definitely nuanced. But I'd say, you know, from my point of view, there's a new wave of balance coming. You know, I think people are understanding that technology hurts. And so they're raising kids and families in a way where technology isn't as much of like, it's not as much of a main like source of entertainment even and stuff like that. So that's a whole other conversation, but I get where you're going with that. And I would definitely agree. It's kind of more nuanced.
How do you view your generation as anxious? In what way?
Well, I think my generation is anxious because there's a lot of things going on in the world, and we live in a time where we can know about pretty much everything going on at once. So I think we both deal with that. So it just causes more anxiety about, you know, current events in the world rather than focusing on, you know, a local community. And so there's definitely more anxiety, and you see what everybody else is doing. And so you think you have to be at like a certain level because all of your friends are doing it, or people your age across the world are doing something better than you. So there's a lot more comparison. I think comparison creates anxiety, and it takes joy away too. So yeah. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for chatting.
You're welcome. It was a short one, but that's all right. Thanks for having me. Of
course. Guys, next time we'll be back in the studio, back in the stewed. If you want to hear more conversations like this, then just tune in next week, Monday morning 9 a.m. Eastern time. But yeah, thanks guys. Appreciate it. Catch you next time. Bye.
You're listening to the Created to Create show.